What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, guys, today's topic. We're talking about the recent moves that were made. They happened last night, kind of yesterday. Jaime Newman, Khalil Tate, and Trayvon Grimes were, they were released. And then the Eagles then signed Michael Walker. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably waiting to hear me weigh in on Jaime Newman because I'm actually a person that believes Jaime Newman has talent. And to the Eagles' credit, the Eagles did too. A lot of people said that they had a draftable grade on Jaime Newman. That's not the issue. I think a lot of people struggled with the fact that he sat out after transferring. It wasn't a good look, and I think that they kind of combined it all in, and it caused him to slip. But we also saw how fast the Eagles signed him following the draft. Like they clearly had a target set on Jaime Newman to go get him. This is what I'll say. We all have known that the accuracy has been the issue with Jaime Newman, right? That he can be a little inaccurate with the football, but the kid has a tremendous arm. The dude's built. He looks like a guy you saw on the street. You would say, yeah, that's definitely a football player. He's got all that kind of stuff to him, guys. That's the underlying talent stuff that I saw on film, and I said, hey, man, I'm not. And guys, keep in mind, I'm an NC State guy. I do not like Wake Forest. He might be associated with UGA. He never took a snap with UGA. He's a Wake Forest guy. If I'm coming out and saying I like a guy that this guy looks like he could play, and he's playing for UNC or he's playing for Wake Forest, guys, I'm saying that with an unbiased opinion because I can't stand those teams. Now, I'll link the videos at the end of this video where I broke down a little bit of Jaime Newman for you guys. If you guys remember in that video, I told you that while Jaime Newman has plenty of arm, sometimes the ball will kind of dove out on a little. It kind of like die out, not dove out, but die out a little bit. And I was kind of looking into his film to try to figure out, okay, why is this happening for a guy that, I see him throw across the middle. This guy, I seen, out of all the quarterbacks I was watching, when I was watching far hash throws, right? So far hash means, say the field side is to your right, you're lined up on the left hash mark, and you're constantly throwing to that right side, guys. That's the number one way of really judging arm talent, arm strength, that type of thing, guys, is to see if a guy has some zip on a ball like that, especially when it comes to timing routes, say a 10-yard out route where you're throwing across the field to the guy. That's a really good indicator of a player's arm strength, and I saw a lot of that from Jaime Newman's film, and I was like, wow, man, I've only watched 3 or 4 games, and he is throwing this a lot. He's throwing this little route concept quite a bit. But then when I was watching the vertical concepts, if you guys remember, I talked about it. He's kind of dovetailing away from the center, and that's causing issues with his footwork. And then subsequent, when your feet are bad, your upper half goes bad, the ball goes bad. And I've said, hey, look, it's very correctable in my opinion, but what he's doing is he's dovetailing away, whether it's towards the left guard or the right guard. He's dovetailing away from his center, which then causes the pocket, when it starts, the pocket will naturally constrict on you as a quarterback, guys. So what happens is that can cause spacing issues for your feet. So you can't get a full follow through on the football. Jaime Newman's accuracy got him cut, guys. That's my guess here. Now, look, if you're asking me, come on, Gate, give us something. I don't think I would have made this move personally, but I'll say this. I'll say this, guys. I'm not there watching him throw. I can't, you know what I mean? It's not fair to criticize, Brian Johnson and these guys. Yeah, Brian Johnson being the quarterback coach, Shane Steichen being the offensive coordinator, and then, of course, Nick Sirianni being the head coach. I can't really, you know what I'm saying? I can't really fault them if they watched him in rookie mini camps and stuff like that and said, you know what, hey, man, there is some underlying talent here, and if a guy has enough time to work with him, he could be something. But if they're saying, look, man, there's a lot of accuracy issues, this is far more of a developmental prospect than we originally thought, I get it. My question is are you really going to find something better than Jaime Newman? You know what I'm saying? It's easy just to throw a guy out there, but to me, I always felt like Jaime Newman was a perfect guy to put on your practice squad, or if you keep him on your roster as your third, sure, you could do that. You could run some little trick plays with him, a handful of plays, whatever. But generally speaking, a practice squad guy that you keep around for a couple of years to develop, a Nate Sudfeld, if you will. And then you bring him in and give him some opportunities as a backup. I thought that he fit that role very well. And I do wonder, at this point in free agency, are you really going to be able to find a guy that's going to be as cost-effective as Jaime Newman was to do that? That's, you know what I'm saying, that's my issue. I'm not saying you can't upgrade over a guy like Jaime Newman. I'm saying it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you far more than what you were set to pay Jaime Newman to do that. So, I mean, that's really my problem with that. The next series of cuts, guys, came from the wide receiver position grouping. And it's a little interesting, right? Because now the Eagles are really down to under 10 receivers on the roster because we ended up waiving Khalil Tate and Trevon Grimes, who, Trevon Grimes, give me a second, guys. That one's not quite dead yet. Just give a second. I'll explain what happened. But the Khalil Tate thing surprised me a little bit just because Khalil Tate was a good guy that if you needed a third quarterback, he could do that. A lot of us assumed because we didn't know all the rules around the NFL yet that they were changing the single-digit number thing. So when he changed to a single-digit number before the NFL announced that they were allowing players to do that, a lot of us were like, wow, I guess they're going to work Khalil Tate as a quarterback, as QB3. Well, it never turned out to fruition with that one, and then they ended up waiving him. Khalil Tate got waived last year, 2 guys, and signed back. So we'll see what kind of happens there. What I will say is if you look at the Eagles roster right now, you have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you have Jamon Osborne, Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith, Greg Ward, and Quez Watkins. I did this in alphabetical order, guys, not in order of importance, anything like that. 8 guys. All right? Technically 9, because we just signed Michael Walker from Jacksonville. Michael Walker, special teams player, guys. This is a guy that if he makes the roster, it's going to be based upon his ability to play special teams. I can't remember exact, guys. I know he's a special teams player. I don't remember if he's a punt returner, kick returner, or if he's both. Maybe he's just a gunner on special. I don't know, guys. I just know that he's billed as a special teams player. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know a ton of information about Michael Walker, guys. I don't. This is definitely an out-of-the-blue signing. But I promise you guys in the coming weeks, I will get familiar and I will have videos on him and I'll break down what I know about the young man once I get a chance to really see his film and really go back to college and see what he was. Which brings us to Trevon Grimes. This is the one I think more than Jaime Newman, right? Jaime Newman was definitely a shock just because there's no QB3. But the Trevon Grimes one, it stings because it feels like it's something that would not have happened if he was healthy, right? And that's what needs to be understood here, guys, is that this is an injury waive. So he's going to clear the waiver wire more than likely. You can always leave a little room, I'm saying never say never, but it's very likely he's going to clear the waiver wire. So once he clears the waiver wire, then the Eagles can they could designate him as an injury reserve. They can put him on IR, right? Which it'll be their decision what they do there. If you IR him, he's out for the season. He could potentially come back in the playoffs. You guys know there's some weird rules around the IR, but just basically speaking that, guys, he's probably going to be out for the year if you do that. But he's still controlled by the organization. You could still have him doing, once he's healthy enough to work out again and can do some stuff, he could then, go ahead and work with personal trainers, stuff like that, private coaches to work on stuff. And you control his rights going into 2022, which will probably be the bigger thing here. Now, the other thing they could do is, there is a way, I think, of where you could do an injury settlement with them, and then you could reclaim them again, I think. It's a weird fundamental thing here, guys, that I can look up the exact rules for it, but they can, I do know for a fact, they can do an injury settlement with them, but by doing that, I don't know if he goes back through I'd have to look it up, guys, because back through the waiver wires and what happens again, because I do know by doing that injury settlement, you can lessen the IR rule. So it's one of those weird things, right? So I wouldn't necessarily close the books on Trevon Grimes, but it is what it is, guys. But the end of the video, guys, just to recap it, quarterback Jaime Newman, gone. There's no QB3 right now. That's a little bit shocking to me. Like, you got to have a camp arm, man. That's why overpay for a camp arm? I don't get that one. Khalil Tate, gone. Could have been a potential camp arm. Gone. So now we're pulling from the wide receiver group. Trevon Grimes has been waived as part of an injury thing. He, probably will be back on the roster at some point. But he will not be active. He will not count against the roster, none of that stuff. So right now the Eagles sit with 9 wide receivers, counting free agent signing they just made in Michael Walker. And we'll see, guys. I mean, we can definitely say that this probably bodes well for guys like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and, guys like, Greg Ward Jr., some of the guys like, John Hightower, Quez Watkins, those guys that, I think Quez was pretty safe just judging the way the season ended last year, but those guys that maybe would have really been fighting tooth and nail, and a guy like, Trevon Grimes could have made it difficult for somebody else to make the roster if he really shined. And the Eagles were like, we're not putting him on the practice squad, we're putting him on the actual 53. So we'll see, guys. I mean, are they going to keep 5? Are they going to keep 6? Big questions coming up, guys. I don't have the answers to. Leave your comments down below, guys. What do you think? It's tradition to keep 5, but I don't even know. Like, the NFL could potentially expand the roster capacity. So we could go from a 53-man to a 55. I've heard as high as 60. So we'll see what they do there. I mean, that will have major implications if that happens. And that's part of what would probably be agreed upon because you're expanding the schedule, you're playing more games. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all's time and attention. You guys know that if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a cup of coffee. I'll link it down below. Don't forget to like and comment on the video, guys. It's what spikes the algorithm and gets us in front of other people. And last but not least, I would love to add you to the community, but in order to do that, I need you to hit that subscribe button. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. I mean, look, guys, until we know more, this is what I know. I'm sharing it with you. I'll link the videos, like I said. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys on the next video.